for attendance. And if I don't have your name, please tell me later. I have Joe Stahl, Craig Warner, Pat Barnes, Chris O'Neill, Greg Wicksher, Bradley Burge, Jen Saponis, Patrick Collins, Randy Milano, Linda Vanderhyde, Kerry Ward, Sandy Misowitz, Chris Bauer, Glenn Posca, Pat Jordan, Andrew Kreshik, George Penn, Bob Rice, Steve Iacetta, Mark Constiglione, Tom Gifford, Jordan Solano Reed, Karen Bissell, Andrew Tracy, and Chris Wallen. Who did I miss? Anyone? No, I may have gotten them all. Carm, I think we're ready to start. We have a quorum.
Okay, great, Mike, and A+ for getting everybody on the attendance list. I apologize. Mike and I had some confusion, and I left my camera-enabled laptop at home, so you get to do this without looking at my made-for-radio face. So we'll call the meeting of June 4th to order. First order of business is accepting the meeting minutes, approving the meeting minutes from March 5th. Could I get a motion to accept those minutes?
We have a few comments, Carm, that I've kept track of. Pat Jordan, I think you were at the last meeting, but you didn't make the meeting minutes. Is that right, Pat?
That's correct. Actually, I'm in the minutes at the end for my report, but just not in the beginning for attendance.
Intense. Great. Thanks, Pat.
Thanks.
Linda Vanderhyde, you had some comments. We missed the Thruway member who gave the update at the last meeting. I think, Joe, was that you, Joe Stahl? Oh, is Joe muted?
Yes, sir. I'm back. I'm sorry.
Okay, Joe, did you give the update at the last meeting for the Thruway?
I did not.
You did not. Then it must have been. Was it then Tim Wainwright did it then?
Yeah, Tim Wainwright did it most likely. Yes.
All right, because we missed that in the last meeting minutes, so we'll put Tim in there. And Linda had one other comment. Linda, you're on the line?
Yeah, I'm on the line. Rather than having wind producing, I think we need wind power producing.
You're right.
For the port site.
Correct. Thank you. They're doing more than just producing wind.
Yeah.
I hope. All right. So with those three comments, Carm, I think we can vote on it.
Just add me to your minutes, Mike. Attending.
Okay. On the March minutes.
March 5th minutes.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I'm quoted in the report, but just please note me as attending.
Yep,
Thank
four comments then.
Thank you.
Okay, with the 4 noted comments and changes to the minutes, could we get a motion to approve the March 5th meeting minutes?
Move.
Moved and second?
I'll second. It's Pat Jordan.
Thank you, Pat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey,
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. We'll move into the privilege of the floor. I don't know if there are any members of the public here. Mike, have you?
I did not find any. Who made the first motion on the meeting minutes?
Linda.
Linda. All right, Linda, thank you. Yep. Carm, I don't see any in the list here.
Okay, we'll ask once. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard? Hearing none, we will close section 3, privilege of the floor, and move to, I believe, 5 action items. The first is to release the final draft of New Vision's 2050. Mike, anything you want to add on that? I know it's been enclosed.
Yes, it is enclosed. We have a short presentation from Jen Saponis and Chris O'Neill, just to go over, I think we got 4 comments, just so the board knows exactly what changes have been made since the March meeting. So Jen, I think you shared your screen, you're ready to go.
Yep,
Thank
you can see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we just wanted to give an update from the March meeting when the draft New Visions plan was adopted. We did receive some comments that we addressed in and updated the draft, which has been uploaded to the website. We did, of course, update our public participation plan because of COVID and everything that was going on. We have an update on the conformity analysis, which Chris O'Neill will talk about. We have new VMT data that we received from DOT. And we have discussed future updates to sections like transit and to resiliency to add some language discussing ongoing impacts from the pandemic and social distancing and how that has affected mobility. And then we fixed some typos that were in the plan and have been in contact with DOT about comments. So as you may know, there are a lot of virtual ways for the public to participate and provide comment. And once the New York State on Pause was implemented, we had to cancel all of our public and in-person meetings. We shifted everything to online and set up some alternative ways for people to get in touch with us and to provide comments. So like I said, we had to cancel all our in-person meetings, but we are still available to schedule virtual presentations and webinars if anyone is still interested for town boards or any other community meetings. Instead of doing 2 very distinct different public outreach phases, we're going to do continuous public involvement and outreach through September until we're ready to adopt. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Chris O'Neill to talk about the conformity determination.
Thanks, Jen. We needed to do a conformity determination for the 2050 plan, consistent with the Clean Air Act. The draft conformity determination in your package is very similar to the conformity determination completed last year for the TIP. We are coordinating with Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation Council and also with New York State DOT for projects in Greene, Schoharie, and Montgomery counties, because that's our air quality non-attainment area, includes all of those entities. And the draft has been, that was in your package, has been approved by the Interagency Consultation Group, or the ICG. And that consists of New York State DOT, FHWA, FTA, US EPA, and also New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. So we find the New Vision's 2050 plan to meet the requirements of conformity. And then I just want to mention that, you know, ozone concentrations in the region have improved. And we really do attribute that to the Clean Air Act requirements, including vehicle emission standards. So air quality in the Capital District continues to be good. And I have the next slide shows ambient air monitoring data from 2002 to 2017. We can see that we're really continuing to improve with our ozone concentration levels. And I think this is a good news story for the Capital District. And Jen, I'll pass it back to you now.
Sure, thanks. So as mentioned earlier, other updates to the plan include the new VMT data from DOT. It doesn't change any of our principles or recommendations. It's just new data that's been inserted. We are planning on doing a resiliency chapter update just based on everything that's going on, reviewing current and discussing future economic and social impacts, and monitoring reopening and recovery efforts here in the region and how infrastructure could play a role. And then this was just some data of your interest from recent events. I forgot to update this. The traffic data, there is more recent data that shows a slight recovery in VMT, but as you can see, VMT was at about 25% of baseline through the end of March and all of April. And a lot of this you're probably already familiar with, so I won't go into detail, but we reviewed how the region was adapting to social distancing, particularly related to mobility. So how parking regulations had changed, how agencies were communicating, changing messages, all of CDTA's changes, which they did really quickly to keep people safe and accommodate the health of both customers and drivers and get people, essential workers, to where they needed to go. So, with everything that has been going on, we've, recognized that New Visions needs to be a living document that may need more updates in the future based on changing conditions. We may need to revisit performance measures. We will be working with CDTA as they develop their transit development plan and integrating that into our long-range plan. And seeing different trends like telework and commuting and how that impacts the region and how that might impact future expectations will be important. And then looking at other infrastructure like broadband and how that could be considered or influences transportation in the region. And of course, equity and environmental justice becoming even more of a greater priority. So this is, we are still accepting comments. We're scheduling virtual meetings. We are doing outreach. Comments can be submitted by email. We set up a virtual voicemail box that you can call or text comments to, and the number is there. We're on social media, doing like polling and surveys and doing outreach, and we'll be scheduling more public kind of virtual town hall like meetings. So that's all I have, Mike.
Okay, the only other thing we have, I think outstanding right now is we still are in the process of getting back to DOT on some of the comments that they submitted. So Bob and Greg, we'll be scheduling a meeting with you guys to go over those comments with you probably next week or the week after, depending on everybody's availability. But we haven't forgotten them. We definitely need to address those comments, so we will.
Great,
I
thanks.
think that's it.
Any questions for staff on this? Usual good and thorough job. If not, we need a motion to accept or to release the final draft to the public for review of New Visions. Can I get a motion on that?
Bradley Burge will make the motion.
Thanks, Brad. Second?
Second, Craig Warner.
It's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Thanks, everybody. Now the next item is to seek approval for the draft Transportation Air Quality Conformity report. Mike?
Let's see. So, okay, we're in Roman numeral 6 and
Number five.
Yeah.
okay, sorry, that was, all right, that was what Chris was talking about. So we do need a second motion on that.
Okay. I'm sorry. I should have done those together. I
Second
apologize.
action. No, we actually do need them separate. Thank you.
Could I get a motion on that, please?
Bradley
Motion
Burge
by
will
Levi.
second that as well.
Brad? Okay,
A second? I think we may have that all
Second.
together, right?
Craig Warner.
Yes, thanks, Craig. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so every few years, along with DOT, we solicit projects for the 53 funding, the FTA 53 funding, for for the most part, vehicles and equipment for companies that transport people with disabilities and seniors. So senior service centers and agencies like that submit requests, and a regional committee evaluates those requests, submits them to CDTC. The recommendations are forwarded to the planning committee, and what you have in your packet is really what the recommendations of the planning committee. So it's a 2-page handout with an agenda item, Roman numeral at the top right side. Talks about the urbanized area. There is a separation between the urbanized area in Saratoga Springs and the Albany, Schenectady, Troy urbanized area. But on the back of that page, it shows what option 1 would be. And the options that were presented to planning committee was to take the highest rated projects and fund them completely. And in that way, you would actually only fund a few projects. Second option, or the option number 1 that they approved, the planning committee approved, was spreading some of that funding around so that more of the applicants receive funding. So what planning committee recommended is on the last page of that handout, and you'll see there are several organizations receiving funding for vehicles, and 2 organizations that are receiving funding for hardware and software, and a lot of that is communications equipment. Carrie, do you have anything to say? You oversaw that process. Did I miss anything?
No, you covered everything I had here.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Okay, hearing none, this is a program that helps a lot of people, and it's great work. We need a motion to approve the project, excuse me.
Bradley
Can I get a
Burge
motion
will
on
move
that?
the motion.
Brad, you're 3 for 3. Second.
Second, Craig Warner.
Oh, man.
Craig, I think you're 3 for 3. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next is the continuing operations plan. We need to approve that. It looks sort of like the standard operating procedures for CDTC. Mike, you want to bring us through that?
Sure. I apologize for the length of the document, and I don't think too many people are going to read the entire document, but I just want to say that John Poorman started this document about 10 years ago. And John Poorman, if you knew him or knew his writing, it really is impressive. I mean, the way John handled a lot of really complex issues and described them really made it easy to understand. So the first probably 80% of this document, Chris O'Neill and I chose really not to change what John had written. We updated the information, but it was written so well that we kind of really accepted and wanted to accept John's writing. Some of the major changes in your packet, it just happens to be split. The packet was pretty large, so it just happens to be split so that the end of the first packet, there is an organizational chart for CDTC. And it was a staff effort, but if you have the chance, it's actually page 96 in this document. That organization chart took some time, and I think we really did capture the process and how all the agencies are involved, including advisory committees, the public, even down to non-member agencies and consultants. So we're pretty proud of that organization chart. It took some time and effort to get all the boxes and lines all added up, but I think it really does explain the process. If you have time, the last section is a section on really on actions and recommendations that we would take. And in that section, we look at, just drop something. We look at the possible scenarios and plan for those scenarios that would threaten CDTC's operations. And I only point that out because I'm sure if you're in an office, you probably have similar situations. But, you know, we plan for things like, you know, what would happen to the building in case of a natural disaster. We added pandemic, of course, because now we're dealing with that. What would happen in the case of a computer attack, and so on and so forth. So if you're actually interested in what scenarios we plan for, that's in the last chapter. But that's a very quick summary. It's a good document, talks about, you know, our members, who they are, what they do, the rules that we use, and a lot of other things, but it really summarizes the entire process.
Mike, this is Andrew Kreshik. I just had a quick question on the schematic. On the squares that abut one another, the policy direction and technical advice and policy recommendations, and then underneath planning committee, the technical direction, technical information and policy options, are they abutted to show a shared process as the information goes up and down, or are they separate entities and it's just tidier to have them abutting?
The latter and not the former.
Okay.
You know, we're trying to show the process and how the information goes between staff, planning, and policy board.
Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. We do need approval for it, though.
Okay.
I'll move Patrick Jordan.
I'll second the motion.
Patrick and Linda,
Yeah.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, continuing operations plan is approved. Good work, Mike.
Thank you.
Next is environmental justice, Title VI analysis. That requires approval. I assume, Mike, you want to give a quick summary on that?
I'll do the same again. Yes, thank you. So in the same packet, following the continuing operations center, operations plan, I'm sorry, is the environmental justice and Title VI analysis. We've done this before, and basically it's an evaluation of all of our programs and looking at their impact on environmental justice and Title VI populations. So we've looked at the TIP and the long range plan and our public participation plan and evaluated them and just looked at, you know, the positive, negative, and neutral impacts on those populations. The recommendations I don't think are surprising. If you go all the way to the back of the document, the conclusions are on page 33. You know, we talk about improvements can be made. You know, we would certainly love to have, for the TIP, we'd love to have higher percentage projects in the positive and less in the neutral. The public participation process, we concluded that there remains room to engage EJ populations. People familiar with this type of work, it's never easy to engage the EJ populations for many, many, many reasons. It's just difficult because they don't always have the access or the time. So we really do try to make special efforts to engage them, to talk to them, to get their input. But it's a never-ending process, and we think we can improve that. So there are some recommendations, again, the last page, mostly talking about, you know, what we could do to improve. And we need to update our website so that it's more ADA compliant, and we're in the process of doing that now. This was another very fine product produced by Carrie. So I will ask Carrie if there are any other comments or something that I missed.
No, that's good. Thanks.
Thank you. Carrie's also taking minutes, so she's kind of doing a few things right now. Any questions or comments about that document?
Okay, so hearing no further questions or comments, can we move the environmental justice Title VI analysis to approval? Need a
I'll move
motion
it.
to do that.
I'll make a motion to move it.
Second, Andrew Kreshik.
Who made
All
the
those in
first
favor?
motion?
Tom Warner.
Thank you, Tom.
So Tom and Andrew have moved that. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Great, thanks, everybody. We got through the action items quickly and without too many hiccups. Mike, the next couple are review the technical assistance program, and then you might want to move into solicitations.
Yeah, we can do these quick. I think Sandy and Mark Consiglione, Sandy Misowitz, Mark Consiglione could summarize the technical assistance program, since it's a joint program between CDRPC and CDTC. Sandy, do you want to go first?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. So we, in partnership with CDRPC and Mark, received 4 applications for technical assistance. They were all funded by the planning committee. The project descriptions are in your packet, but they are in the towns of Westerlo, East Greenbush, Glenville, and Clifton Park. We're in the process right now of finalizing the scopes of work with each sponsor in terms of delivering a letter, but we're going to be starting those hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Some of them are going to be impacted by traffic and maybe delayed a little bit because of the need to collect data. So we may be holding off on starting a few of those depending on how traffic bounces back because of the COVID crisis. But we will likely have another solicitation in the fall, as we did not use all of the available funding for this round. So keep that in mind. If there are any additional potential technical assistance projects for community planning that your member, your local government members, communities are thinking about, keep that in mind. Mark, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I would be a fool if I tried to perfect your description. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Mark, you're a smart man.
Are there any?
Want to move into solicitations, Mike?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. So we have a couple solicitations going on right now for CDTC task. First one there is Complete Streets Workshops. This has been a really received program that we've been doing to provide consultant-led Complete Streets training to our members. And if you look in the packet, there are 4 types of trainings. There's the basic, there's the intermediate, and there's the advanced. And then there's the regional training, which we've done, I think, once in Albany County. It turned out really well. But this is basically free training on Complete Streets. All you have to do is provide the meeting room and do some of the organizational work, but we do a lot of it. And we just want to advertise that and make sure everybody knows that the applications are due by June 19th. The information is in your packet. The ADA transition plans. We've done a lot of work on transition plans. We've done sidewalk inventories, and we've sent out sidewalk inventories to every municipality in the 4-county region. The next step, once you have that inventory, is to actually construct a transition plan. And this is a requirement that the federal government puts on all municipalities, so municipalities should be aware of it. But what we're doing is offering, once again, consultant-led assistance to produce transition plans for your municipality. So if you're interested, if you need a transition plan, please take note, look in the packet, call if you have any questions. The applications are due June 15th. And the last one there is a trail feasibility study. And what we're trying to do here, this is a new task in our UPWP, but what we're trying to do is trying to progress some of the primary highly rated trail projects in our just approved and completed trails plan. And I think, Jen, there's probably 12 or 15 of those projects
Yes.
that are in the plan. So what we want to do is offer a feasibility study to take the planning process and the progress itself for these trails to the next step. So we're looking for sponsors to look at those trail projects and develop, an application so that we can help you complete a feasibility study. Almost all these trails involve more than one municipality. These are major trails that, the trails plan feels is really important to the region. So, and a lot of them are major connections to the Empire State Trail. So we gave a little extra time there because we knew there's going to have to be some coordination between property owners and stakeholders before anyone submitted an application. So that is due on August 7th. And if you have any questions, Jen Saponis is overseeing that, but we think that's a really good way to progress some of these projects. And that's all we have on the solicitations.
Any questions for Mike or the staff on that?
Mike, just a couple of questions, Pat Jordan. On the sidewalks, it's not directly on this, but do we have any movement on when the sidewalk further study or implementation is going to happen for the East Greenbush Skodak corridor, 920? Do you know how many plans that are coming up?
I know there's a few projects in the tip right now, at least one project in the tip to complete sidewalks on 9 and 20, but I don't know the status. I don't think we have anybody from East Greenbush. They're the sponsors for that project.
Okay. I was just wondering, I drive it a lot and it's sort of a piecemeal out here where, you'll get a new car dealership, they'll do that block, but then you have 2 blocks of nothing, or you have it kind of broken up. And I was just wondering. And on the trails, can we get that on the website easily? Just the map or showing where the plans are? Is that on your website?
Jen, you want to answer that?
Yeah, so right now it's in the news section of the website. And the trails program, the previous release plan, and the full program description is also on the bike ped page. But you can find this specific solicitation that has a map and it has a table with the priority for implementation right from our homepage under news.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sure.
To the 9 and 20 question, we just let a project last April, I believe, that is going to do sidewalks from 9 and 20 up Route 4, a few hundred to school, and then also go up from Route 4 up 9 and 20. I forget the termini, but it's towards Miller Road, but it doesn't get to Miller Road, but it does fill in some more gaps in that section.
Is that active right now, Jeff? I noticed that on the trail, it's just cordoned off with no activity. Is that just on temporary pause?
At the Albany Hudson Electric Trail?
Off of Route 4, behind the, following the electrical wires.
I know they closed it down for winter time, but I'm not quite sure. They probably should be opening it up again. I don't know.
I can tell you what's happening out here. It's not, I live out in Skodak, so right at exit 11, between 10 and 11. They've been moving basically moving an entire hill for the last 2 months. I can't tell if they're gonna have a parking lot at the end of it, but they've been working pretty much 70 hours a day for the last 2 months there. So at least that portion is going on.
Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, we can move to the in-person certification review, the always pleasant.
Yeah, it's always pleasant. MPOs of a certain size, basically with a metropolitan area greater than 200,000 are all required to certify every 4 years. So once every 4 years, the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Transit Administration come to our offices, and it's usually in person, where they come and they ask, we present our programs and they ask a lot of questions. It's supposed to certify that our process meets all the federal requirements. The NPO process meets all the federal requirements in the current federal laws and guidelines. It is an all-out effort by staff and staff of DOT, FHWA, and FTA. This is the first time in New York State that it's been done virtually. We did our virtual certification last week. I think it went really well, and we didn't have any major technical problems. I think there was one person who had trouble entering the meeting, but outside of that, that was probably it. You know, we got a lot of great support. Our staff, you know, I'm very proud of the staff and the presentations that they gave and the questions and the answers they gave to those questions. Staff had, you know, was really on their toes and did a great job answering the questions. The process continued this week with a few interviews. This morning, we had a 1-hour meeting, virtual meeting for planning and policy board members, and that went very well. Tomorrow, we have a meeting for the public, 1 hour from 10 to 11. We're not sure how many people we're going to get. The public is supposed to register, but that hasn't really happened. But that's a public, the opportunity for the public to comment about our process. Next week, there'll be a closeout, and then we'll see a draft report from FHWA and FTA probably in a few months. It's a pretty involved process, but that's a summary. I think it all went really well. If there are any questions, certainly try to answer them.
Anything on that? Painful, but necessary. Okay, the next section is where we get quick updates from the members, so the organizations, agencies involved in CDTC. First up is CDTC.
Okay, we're up again. So since the middle of March or somewhere after the middle of March, we've been working from home. We're very fortunate that we had the computer equipment where we could connect all of our employees to their work computer in the office. So staff has been very good and very productive. Our plan right now, we're drafting a reopening plan, is to be open the week of the 15th of June. And we'll have the office open for I think 3 days. I think 3 days the first week, and then we'll increase that till we get to 5 days. But it'll be a slow process. As you know, we're very concerned and making sure we're concerned about employees that have young children at home and the need for daycare and summer camps and all that, which just hasn't been determined yet in many cases. But we will be back in the office in the middle of June. So we're doing fine. And no reported cases of COVID-19 at CDTC. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. CDRPC.
Yes, thank you. This is Craig Warner. CDRPC as the Economic Development District from the EDA will be receiving $400,000 related to COVID-19 disaster recovery planning and local assistance, and is assisting the Capital Region Chamber in their application to the EDA for the creation of a $10 million regional revolving loan fund. We have converted our traditional in-person planning and zoning workshops into an online webinar series held Thursday mornings. Since launching the series on April 30th, more than 400 have participated in our weekly webinar sessions. This week's topic is electric vehicle charging stations. Sessions are acceptable for planning and zoning board credits as well as certification maintenance credits for professional planners. Visit cdrpc.org for details. CDRPC has released the Capital Region Atlas, which includes 53 regional covering demographic characteristics such as population, housing, race, income, commuting patterns, and educational. The atlas also includes maps on development patterns, environmental characteristics, and hydrograph. Individual maps can be downloaded on either PDF or JPG formats and incorporated into reports and grant applications. 4 projects have been approved for the 2020 CDEC and CDRPC Community Planning Technical Assistance Program. It's the town of Clifton Park, Western Clifton Park Development and Conservation Trends Analysis. Town of East Greenbush, Gilligan Road Complete Streets Project, in the town of Glenville, Comprehensive Plan and Zoning Code Analysis. Town of Westerlo Assistance, their comprehensive plan update. CDRPC's Erastus Corning second annual awards for intermunicipal cooperation were awarded, and the following projects and individuals: Albany County and Saratoga County Regional Biosolids Treatment Facility. And the second is Adam Greenberg, Town Board Member, Town of New Scotland, and Rensselaer Plateau Alliance, which is the Post and Scale Flood Assessment Project, and the town of East Greenbush for the East Greenbush National Resource Inventory. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Craig.
I got through it.
You did good. Who's your speechwriter?
I can't tell. Thanks, Mark.
All right, Mark, we'll remember that. I'll I'm my own speechwriter, which gets me into trouble. It's been a rough few months for CDTA, and it continues to be rough right now. We have seen ridership dip, at least early on in the crisis, to about 40% of where we normally would be. So we creep back up, we're back up to about 50%, but the ensuing actions resulted in us closing the front door, turning the fare box off, and having boarding and exiting through the rear door only. A lot of our service was trimmed back to adjust to demand. So we haven't collected a fare in a couple of months. Annualized, that's about a $22 million line item. So we're working towards reopening the front door and the fare box, but that's several weeks off. We need to modify the cabin where the operator sits to make it safe and secure. So we are bringing ridership as part of our reopening plan. We're bringing service levels back to where they normally were, at least on our main trunk routes. And in fact, because of the definition of what a crowded vehicle is, because that's changed, in many corridors, there will be much more service than existed before COVID. So we're going to go from COVID, less service, warp speed up to more than we had before we started. So how we balance all that and pay for that is going to be somewhat of a challenge. You may have noticed we received $43 million in federal money from the CARES Act, and I think some people outside looking in thought that happy days are here again for CDTA, but that is basically a debt filler. It's just a way to get us through several months. Our payroll is about $1 million a week, so that 44 million doesn't go very far when you're not collecting fares, and unfortunately have not received state operating assistance, as many of you are aware. In cities and towns, those state payments have been delayed while our state understands better what they're going to do with their budget. So in the midst of it all, we were pleased about 2 weeks ago to receive a White House tweet announcing that the Washington Western BRT, the third BRT in our network, will indeed be fully funded. So we'll start construction on that, God willing, in 2021, while we are preparing to open our River Corridor BRT along Route 32 between Albany and Troy later this year. So some interesting things. We're cutting back as a result of COVID, but many of our signature projects move forward. New York State DOT. New York State DOT.
I'm on the line. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Okay, so like everybody else, the COVID has changed things here at DOT. And probably one of the biggest changes is now when people walk around, this is what we look like. So that's one of the big changes. But like everyone else, when we were on pause, nearly 100% of our employees were working remotely. And I'm proud to say that nearly 100% of our employees were able to keep up with the workload. We were very lucky here with our IT program. By coincidence, we're testing for a similar event, although it wasn't a pandemic. It was more like a natural disaster where we'd have to work remotely. So we were pretty well prepared, and it's business as usual on paper here, although it's very lonely here in the office. I think I'm the only one who's here on a daily basis, but we're working on bringing people back. By Monday, June 8th, about 25% of the population that works here at 50 Wolf Road will be reporting here. So that's part of our reopening plan. During the time, along with moving the capital program forward, we had a role with many of our transportation partners helping in the COVID response, heading up the ESF1, again, with like the throughway, canals, many others. A lot of work was done here to help the people of New York with COVID, and I'm very proud to be a member of DOT and that ESF1 function. It's amazing what the people of New York have done here. But back to DOT projects, we're continuing to keep our letting program moving forward. And again, our design folks have been working 100% remotely. So it's kind of business as usual, but different, the new normal, I guess. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks, Patrick. The new normal is not very recognizable. So we though will adjust. Throughway.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Joe Stahl. Just kind of an update. A lot like Pat and DOT, we're expected to start bringing about 50% of our staff back on Monday, June 8th. Our essential staff has kind of been here right along working, but we have a group of non-essential or limited ability to work from home. Those folks are going to start returning back at 50% level on June 8th. From a construction standpoint, as many have been out, if you have been out, you've seen some changes along the highway in the installation of some of the over-the-road gantries in the all-electronic tolling process. A little better than a week ago, we put one up between 23 and 24, covering both the north and southbound lanes. That was called, we did that in the middle of the night during a lane shift and stoppage of traffic to get that put in place. We anticipate doing the one between 24 and 25. I believe it's the week of June 15th, tentatively scheduled for the 18th of June right now, but they tend to fluctuate and move the dates quite a bit yet. The next one after that will be out between 25 and 25A. We have most of, in the Capital District area, the ones that are what we call open road tolling at the interchanges. Most of those are up and the equipment is being installed on those currently. So AET is moving along. It has a scheduled, I guess, installation opening date of late fourth quarter 2020. That's still on target, even with all the challenges we've had with supplies and things to that nature from the COVID-19 pandemic. The Old State Road Bridge is down. Foundation walls are going back up. That is actually ahead of schedule a little bit, which will be good news for those folks in that corridor. We are still anticipating, I believe it was in October, completion for that project. There's one thing with the drastic reduction in traffic. It's allowed us to do some unique things out here that we've never been able to do before, as far as daytime closures and movement of traffic. So that's all I have at this time.
Thanks, Joe. Airport, Steve.
Oh, thank you, Carm. I'll keep it brief. Similar to your agency and probably all agencies, we've seen a decline significant in late March, April, and May. Passenger boarding starting to come back now. Freight has been up, as reported by our CFO. Seen about a 10% increase in cargo, so reflecting our national economy and shipping by air. Staff have been essential, and just about everyone is reporting nearly full-time, some staggered shifts. So it's good to see that recovery in progress. We are advancing nearly 4 million in new passenger boarding bridges for our board meeting this Monday. Also awarding a new master plan for our 20-year Albany International Airport vision, similar to the TIP for air traveling public and freight. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on the aeronautical. So flight operations are starting to restore, but we're down about 65 to 70% currently on passenger load, and operations are coming back. So that's my report.
Thanks, Steve. Last but not least, Port District.
Thanks, Carm. It's always nice to go last. So the port's probably one of the few places that kind of weathered this storm right out of the gate. The entire Port District was deemed essential, so our 25 tenants were up and running. We did not get any reports from any of them, and several thousand workers, including all of our stevedores, of any cases of the virus. So we were very happy with that. I think everybody had their plans in place as soon as this happened, and those plans worked. The port itself, like everybody else's municipal buildings, is closed to the public, and our CEO took that as a sign for people to work remotely. So most people were lucky like that. I'm kind of in Pat Barnes's business where I get to go to work 3 days a week and wear my mask most of the time, and our CEO is there 5 days, and I kind of rotate out with the CEO just to kind of keep the business going. We had some really good things come out of this, where one of our biggest tenants is Mohawk Paper, and they switched from doing some of their normal paper products to really kicking in high gear to getting products to, toilet paper companies and other companies like that. In addition to be called on to invest and build those cardboard paper dividers that are going up in MASH hospitals around the state. So they were happy to be, able to assist in this, and we're happy that they're right in the district. Vessel calls, I think I said last time too, are surprisingly up. We are increasing our vessel calls from the last 2 quarters compared to 2019. Our products are just products that are necessary. It's a smaller port, but our wood pulp and GE products and other things just keep coming through. We think it might catch up a little bit this summer. We know that the big boys down south of the port of New York and New Jersey are experiencing a significant shortfall, so that could hit us a little in the summer, but we're gonna try to work through it. 2 days ago, Tuesday night, I've been reporting on the Bethlehem Planning Board. They finally approved our finding statement for the 80+ acre expansion. So that's the last bit under seeker to have a developable site ready to, we've already marketed it, but to really be marketing it, it was 1.5 years, and the chairman reminded us that we were there for 19 meetings to get this passed. So we were really put through the ringer, but it's fully approved. I really want to thank Mayor Sheehan. She wrote some great letters on our behalf to the planning board. Mike and his staff gave us great support, especially with some road studies and traffic studies that we were able to use to show that we can keep the traffic in the port. And I know a lot of people are in favor of it, that it's going to be, once we get this off the ground and get some of these wind powered, the big boys up here, it's going to be just I think a boom to the area, like the port's never seen, hopefully like the area's never seen, with the possibility of $200 million worth of new build outs, wharf, factories, everything. And the last thing, last week, our board approved and awarded 4 contracts we're going to build a brand new 60,000 foot square foot warehouse right in the middle of the terminal. That's going to help us keep up with the demand that we are seeing right now. And we're hoping that that'll be fully constructed by the end of the year, if not early first quarter 2021. That's it. Thanks, Norm.
Thanks, Pat. Good report. You can see there's a lot of good things going on as we kind of navigate as a region, navigate our way through this difficult period. Here at CDTA, we've had several positives, but that was all in the first half of the crisis. We had many quarantines, but all in the first half of the crisis. It really does show you that frontline workers, who many of us work with, represent, lead, are doing their jobs and are not the spreaders. Not that a spreader is a bad person, but frontline workers are getting it done. So great work by everybody. Last thing we have here is linkage and planning activities. I think is enclosed. Mike, did you want to add anything to that?
No, that's correct. They're enclosed, unless someone else has a local planning activity they want to talk about.
Yeah, or like we might as well move into. Is there any other business? Anything you want to talk about that we missed? If not, in your packets are upcoming meetings, a list of them in June and actually all through June, one in July. But Mike, any comments on those?
No, they will all be virtual. We all have gotten pretty accustomed to virtual, and it's been working pretty well. So, no comments.
Any other business? Anything we missed? Last minute comments, thoughts? We don't need any inspirational quotes.
I'm Tom Gifford in Scotia. I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm an alternate new member and just learning the language here. I'm the mayor of Scotia, and it's a great place. I want to say Pat was talking about the masks. We got official ones from Tough Traveler in Schenectady. So,
Nice.
So anyway, hi everybody. I hope I can learn the language before my alternate time is up.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. We do that on purpose. We speak in code so that no one will really understand what we're saying and figure out what we're doing. But once you learn the code, you're a member of the club and forever a member of the club. If there's nothing else, it's a nice day outside. For those of you working at home, you just walk out the door. For those of us in the office, you get home as quick as you can. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you.
I think
Stay
the
well.
vote is unanimous. Mike.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Great. Have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay safe.
Bye, Mike.